Hi, good morning, Unite. Next, thank you for that talk. I learned a lot, and you got me revved up for the rest of the day, so very excited about that. And thank you, Shopify, for having me here. Um, I've been instructed to really make eye contact with the audience. So, if you notice that I'm kind of like staring you down, it came in the manual, it's not my fault, so just disclaimer there. Over yesterday and a lot of today we've been learning a lot about different components of the e-commerce stack and how as product builders, as software developers, as app developers on Shopify, we can leverage various parts of bits and pieces of these components to help our merchants do better. But I'm going to step back a little bit from there. And over the next 30 minutes, we're going to talk a little bit about the first principles of product building and how can we build products that don't just help merchants grow their business, but merchants also love using. So love and money, the two most important things in our lives, coming together in the next 30 minutes. And how can we take lessons from Lego and the way Lego blocks are built to actually leverage scalability and quick turnaround and a lot of different use cases for our merchants to grow better. So we'll dig down into that. And before we start, a little bit about me. Hi, I'm Kos Kosambi. Everybody calls me Kos. And before anything, I'm a very, very involved aunt of twins, boy and girl, teenagers now. We do a lot of things together. We make and build. We love doing that. I am a closet poet. Don't ask me about my poems. You can see them online. They're terrible. And here I am enjoying the fall colors. It's a beautiful time to be in Canada right now, isn't it? It's beautiful. I've spent a large part of my last 16 years just building products and technology and trying to make it simple for merchants, for marketplaces, for users. And a lot of us in this room use Amplitude, so was very excited to be nominated as one of the 50 product leaders, emerging product leaders for commerce. And for the last 2 years, since 2020, I've been the founder, one of the founders at Mason, and I take care of product and customer experience there. Before we start, am I even a founder if I don't quote Elon Musk? So here we are. I'm going to read it out. If you had to buy a new plane every time you flew somewhere, it would be incredibly expensive. And don't take this literally. I think it really exemplifies the core principles for us as product builders, as technologists, which is doing more with less, right? And the whole philosophy of repurpose, remix, and reuse. Right? Lego. And hence, I really love this quote. And let's go with a pop quiz. Just show of hands, very simple. Bunch of different projects, I'm sure, weekend projects with probably my niece and nephew too, and a bunch of different Lego outcomes you can see here. Everything from a really terrible, I don't know what that is, a tic-tac-toe to a sculpture. But just show of hands, I'm sure a lot of individual pieces have come together to make all of these, but what do you think is the basic fundamental shapes? How many different fundamental shapes do we have in our Lego boxes to make all these different outcomes? Just numbers. What do you think? All right, okay. 12? 12, okay. Yeah? 20. 5. And brick, plate, tiles, not slope. Different angles, different colors, different sizes, but these are your 5 basic pieces in your Lego. Of course, there are those custom Star Wars things that come along once in a while, but on a fundamental level, these are the 5 blocks, building blocks, with which We do so much. So it's 5 building blocks, and you're only limited by your imagination, by your creativity. And that's composability, that's modularity. That's the concept of repurpose, reuse, and remix that we are going to be talking about. And now that we are vibing, we are on the same wavelength of what we are talking about. Look, let's dive into what does it mean for us as software developers, as product builders. What does composability, what does thinking from the perspective of Lego mean? And you can read this. It's on Wikipedia and anywhere on the internet, the definition. But think about, imagine if we could build e-commerce stores like IKEA. Right? So think IKEA, think Japanese Kona beds, think JavaScript modules. All are based on the construct of composability. Right? And this construct is not new in retail. We've always been composable as a business. For example, retail, building blocks, lots of products. So as a brand, I mix and match my products, and I create bundles. Awesome. That's a building block there. Now apply a bundle to beauty and grooming. It's regimes, right? Apply a bundle to fashion. It's your looks and lookbooks, right? Apply a bundle to F&B. It's the combos, right? So we've always worked with composability in our business. And it's even more important to also think of how composability can be leveraged when we are building solutions as e-commerce enablers. When we are building solutions for our merchants, how can we think from the perspective of composability? E-commerce continues to evolve and it's accelerating. And today, as a consumer, I'm buying anywhere, anytime. And here's a number. There are approximately 9 touch points before I even decide to buy with a brand. So commerce is everywhere. Multi-touch is the norm. And I'm literally connecting with a brand at least 9 times before I buy from them. From YouTube to Pinterest, you're sliding into my DMs on LinkedIn and Twitter and whatnot. But that's how it is today. And so as an app developer, we have to help merchants sell everywhere and help connect these 9 touch points. They can't be disparate, individual touch points. It has to come together as one cohesive customer journey. And to do that, to think like that, you also have to step back and think, where does your product and your solution, which part of these 9 touch points is it impacting? What happened to the customer, to the shopper, before they encountered your experience? And what's going to happen? What are they going to do after? Right? So it's an ecosystem. It's a journey. You're not an individual product doing something in isolation. So being composable helps you to rethink, what does it mean to create a good product, a great app? It's not just an admin console. It's about powering that connected buying journey. And with that, you can power not just one, but thousands of different journeys within a storefront with hundreds of different use cases. You can help merchants assemble the right journey for you versus me. And here I'm going to step a little bit into how this framework of thinking Lego, thinking composable, helped us at Mason over these last 2 years. What do? Our vision is to power digital retail, mirror it, and make it very similar to physical retail, right? When you think of online stores today, it's still very website, pages, product pages, but actually it's a storefront. It's your online store. So there are a lot of strategies, merchandising, sales and promotion, different strategies that you apply in your physical store. How can we translate that into the digital world and hence help you grow your business? That's our mission. And we just launched a little over 2 years back, and we've learned a lot. Initially we launched with a very narrow set of use cases to just help very simple merchandising use cases for our merchants in their online store with simple things like banners, badges, very, very limited. But over the next year, after launch, we saw a bunch of our merchants come back to us and say that how can we do more? How can you help us do more? So the product backlog starts increasing. So there's so many different things that you can help merchants do to grow. How do you pick and choose? How do you prioritize? And interestingly, at that point in time, we were thinking from a very systemic point of view. So when you think of growth as an engineer, as a product builder, you're thinking of systems like analytics, A/B test and experiments, sales promotion systems. So you're thinking very systemic in nature. And that reminds me of this movie, Modern Times. I don't know how many of you have seen it. It's a very old movie. And Charlie Chaplin is essentially one of the guys in a modern factory, lots of wheels and gears, and there's this very, very funny scene where he loses sight of what the end outcome that he's driving. He literally is engulfed into the gears and wheels and becomes a part of the factory. And this is a super funny GIF over there. And that's what we were doing in the early days of Mason. We were thinking systemic, and we were thinking about building systems that still need user training, that still need interpreters and operators, right? But a merchant is not thinking all of that. A merchant is thinking, how do I upsell? How do I explain my products better to my customer? How do I make them take better decisions? How do I show them what are the different sizes of my product? So they're thinking very retail, and we as product builders were thinking very systems. So step one, what we did was actually look at all these different merchandising, sales, promotion use cases and break them down into building blocks. Upsells, cross-sells, promotions, we all know about it, all these terminologies, but can we use them as modular blocks? And can we build our modules, our product systems around them, right? But the interesting thing is, as we started doing that, we realized that even the building blocks continue to evolve. We had product manuals, and now we have how-tos and tutorials, right? We used to think product launch. My niece and nephew, the Gen Zs, they think of product drops, right? So even the building blocks sometimes evolve. So step two for us was, is there some way we can create kind of like a 3D printer to make these building blocks on demand? As we learn more, as we learn about retail, as we learn about what our merchants need, can we have a system, can we have a kit that helps us build these building blocks really fast? And so we realized that the 3 pillars common across all retail building blocks is data, experience, and customer. And I'll give an example here. If you think of clearance sale, data there is your product, when is it going to expire, how much of inventory do I have left. These are the data points for clearance sales. And when you think about the experience of clearance sales, it's about the collection that I make. Where do I show them? To which customers do I show them? So your data, experience, and customer are essentially the 3 pillars to drive any kind of sale. Similarly, you look at something very different, customer reviews. There, the data is your UGC, the review itself, the picture probably, the product ID. The experience is how do you bring all of them together into a lovely carousel, into something shoppable. And the customer is, which customer sees what review? How does it make sense for a new user versus a returning user, right? So fundamentally, step 2 for us was not just the building blocks, but kind of like a 3D printer, so that as we learn about more building blocks, we can create them on demand, right? So that's the difference between a systemic view versus a composable and a modular view. And today we power hundreds of use cases across not just the growth funnel, your store funnel, but also across industries. So if you're in fashion, food, beauty, supplements, you get different kinds of use cases that you can power your store growth with, using the same fundamental building blocks. And you can do that too. If you're starting to think composability, that's Sean the sheep there, you can do that too. I'll just leave you with 3 principles of how to think composable, boundaries, scalability, and transparency. right? And when you're designing for composable architecture or composable products, keep these three things in mind. Boundaries is what do we do well, what can we power in that 9 touchpoint customer journey versus what can others power, right? So for us, it was we knew that we could do a bunch of work around merchandising, sales promotion, your store's growth, but email marketing, all of that is already there. There are great products out there. We can connect with them, right? So where are the boundaries for your building blocks? The second is scalability. As you're building these different building blocks, how do they scale across devices, industries, right? You don't want broken windows. You're part of this 9 touchpoint journey. You don't want broken windows in that journey for your shoppers, right? And finally, transparency. The best way to compose yourself into a system is by being transparent, right? When things are breaking, when things are going wrong, how do we communicate so that it helps not just your merchants, but also partners in the ecosystem with which you can play really well. So boundary, scalability, and transparency, just the building blocks for you to think composable, right? And so yeah, in summary, again, fun viral clip, went viral. As you can see, I think I'm a nerd. But this was interesting for me also because, not just because it was fun, but some stormtroopers, and you think of them as killing machines. You take the same building blocks and the same physics, their body movements, but you can power something so different. It's not a killing machine anymore. They're twerking and they're entertaining you, right? So it's about reusing, repurposing, and remixing. How can you use the same building blocks, the same physics, but power something so different than a killing machine to entertain you, right? So thinking Lego frees you to play, to mix and match, and helps you create products that not just help merchants grow, but they also love to use, right? So that's it from my side. Open for questions. Thank you. Do we have time for questions? Okay. Super. All right. Thank you, guys. Oh, we do have one.
Thank you. That was very interesting. If you could share a couple of examples how you guys apply those in in your work, those principles.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the primary one example that I'll leave you with is exactly the bundles example that I was speaking about. And we have a Lego kit in-house now, which is based on data, experience, and customer. And using those 3 pillars, we can create different building blocks like a bundle. But then a bundle doesn't mean anything in isolation. It means slightly different for different industries, right? So one part of it is using that principle, using the same construct, the same module called a bundle. How do we apply that bundle to a different industry, which is beauty, for example. And in that example, the experience starts coming into the picture. So how do you repackage a regime? How it looks is very different from how a combo would look, right? So using the same, and the data points could be different. Like usually a regime is products that kind of play well with each other versus a combo is like products that people always buy together. It's probably frequently bought together, right? So thinking about even the data perspective, how a regime, a bundle is created is about complementary products, whereas a combo, the data perspective there is actually your frequently bought together items, right? And then regimes work well, for example, for new users, right, who are trying to understand how do I even buy these, why should I buy this serum and this night cream? And whereas combos are, even for repeat customers, you can actually show them combos of products of, chips and fries and burger that they buy a lot together. You can show that upfront for a returning user as your most bought bundle, right? So again, the same 3 principles, one building block called bundle, but then you change, you tweak your data, you tweak experience, you tweak customer, and you can have very different outcomes. Right. Thank you. Yeah. We have one here.
Hi. Do you
Hi.
have an example of a building block that you've applied across digital and retail?
Across digital and retail. We don't power offline stores today. We don't do that. But yeah, I mean, there could be examples in future, and happy to continue to talk.
Great.
Yes. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, and yeah, hope you have a great rest of the day.